Well, hey everybody, this show made possible today by Backgrounds by Mayhew. Handcrafted, custom painted backgrounds for the professional photography community. Learn more at backgroundsbymayhew.com. On today's show, we're going to sort of take you on a journey through a process that happened actually last week with a client who's from out of town, and sort of how we cultivated the relationship and eventually had the portrait sale, and it was a nice little sale indeed.
Thank you.
And how to maximize out-of-town sales. Something a little different this week, kind of changed things up.
So welcome to Photo Entrepreneur TV, the place where serious photographic entrepreneurs learn to profit from their passion. So what's that sound?
Kind of sounds like the Denver Broncos offense in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, baby.
Welcome to Photo Entrepreneur TV. It's our first show after the Seattle Seahawks are now the world champions. Go Hawks! So we had to throw that up on the screen here for a little bit. We are just so proud of our team. Our town is just on fire right now. Just literally Greek row, they're burning couches. So wow, what a game! Not for Denver fans or football fans, but for us, we were very excited throughout the whole game. So congratulations, Seahawks!
Yeah. So don't hate us because we're Seahawks, but they did really do a.
Yes, they did.
They whooped them.
They did.
It was awesome.
So on today's show, like we mentioned in the opening, we're going to kind of change it up a little bit. One thing my dad and I have always wanted to do with the show is have it be timely and have it be relevant and realistic to what you guys deal with on a daily basis. And I mean, we're the same. We run a full-time photography business. I mean, I just had a senior pick up her order and pay her balance, and we do that stuff in between the show here. So today we want to talk about out-of-town clients and how do you maximize that sale. And as you know, my father and I are big proponents of consultations before the session and projection sales afterwards. So how do you do that when you have an out-of-town client? And that's really what we're going to talk about actually the entire day today, is kind of go through that step by step.
Yeah, and this first client, I mean, you got the first, I think, email, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
And it was a grandma and grandpa that were coming up to babysit their granddaughter, their 2-year-old granddaughter.
Mm-hmm.
They're from Texas, and their son and daughter-in-law lived up here. They were going on vacation, and he wanted to surprise them with a portrait. And so he, I guess, found us on, he searched us and found us, which, that's kind of step one. The fact that he found us and chose us over other photographers in the area, why did he do that?
Well, initially when I got the email, and I'm really good about getting back to people quickly, all you photographers out there with your autoresponders, you drive me bananas, okay? We live in a society nowadays where people need instant gratification, and I have heard from clients that say the reason why they chose us wasn't our beautiful work, wasn't my dad's reputation, all that stuff. We were the only photographer that got back to him, okay? So I know you're trying to figure out ways to put your business on autopilot. That's not one of it, okay? This guy emailed at 11 o'clock at night. I got the email through our contact page. So I had his address, his phone number, his email. I could see he's from Texas. I emailed him back. I said, hey, I'm not in the office right now, but I can certainly address all of your questions, first thing tomorrow morning. Thank you so much for contacting us. He emails right back. He goes, wow, I didn't expect a response so quickly. That's amazing. So over the course of a day or two, we're emailing back and forth and kind of letting him know about the process at our studio, that we do consultations, although with them only being in Seattle for maybe a 2-3 day window, that was probably not going to happen. So sort of set the expectation of, let's get you on the phone with Bruce and you guys can kind of go over things. Encouraged him to check out the website, read up on the bio, send him some links to some videos on YouTube, our Facebook page, our blog, a whole wealth of information. Try to create as much value as I can because we're not going to meet with this guy firsthand. And then you did the phone consultation with him.
Yeah, and he really had gone to school on us. I mean, he knew about your mom, passing away. He knew that I was a former high school band director, which kind of prompted his son is actually working on his doctorate, I think in Michigan right now, a trombone player or whatever. So, I mean, we had some common ground there. And he loved our work. During the consultation, the phone conference, I was able to direct him to certain pages and certain things on the website. So, our website is very content rich. I think it's very robust. And one of the reasons for that is for these phone conferences that we have. So that was the second step. And then we talked about price. I kind of ballparked some prices to him, told him I would send him our pricing information, which we did. And I also told him, don't be totally blown away by, what you see, because most of the time, a 2-year-old kind of portrait, most people are going to get anywhere from a 16 by 20 to, so I told him there's a lot larger prints on there with a lot heftier price tags than probably what you're going to spend. So anyway, he was totally fine with that. We booked the session for when he was going to be up here, which I did on Friday. And he paid for the session fee at that point to reserve that. We did the session on Friday, and we were able to turn the images around very quickly, and we're going to talk about that here with a segment with Amy coming up. And made the sale on Saturday morning before a photo class. It was pretty cool. So that's kind of the step by step in which we go about doing it.
Yeah, and I'll leave you with one more thing here before we kind of go into the actual workflow of it. Here, number one, he found us on Google. You got to have your SEO and your website ducks in a row. We talked about that last episode here. Sort of how do you stand out, creating value. You got to have those good websites, people can find you. And number two, I kind of went to school on him, okay? I noticed his email was a prominent petroleum company in Texas, okay? Multi-billion-dollar corporation. So that got me thinking. So I go online and I go into LinkedIn. I put his email in there. Well, come to find out, he's a supervisor of a large component of this company. So I'm doing some pre-qualification. Not
guerrilla marketing.
Yeah, guerrilla marketing, not stalking like some of you are probably thinking. But for what we charge, not anybody off the street coming in here can afford what we do. Okay, so I just want to make sure that this guy is even in the ballpark of the type of client that we're looking for. And come to find out, his daughter-in-law is a doctor at the local hospital here, and his son that lives here is a big wig for one of our tech companies here in Seattle. So
Is Amazon a tech company?
Yes, Amazon is a tech company,
Okay.
I guess.
Okay.
Amazon.com. Ever hear of them? So anyway, I kind of did my part just to give my dad, some ammunition for when he's in there. And then that consultation and not being afraid to talk about price, okay?
Very important.
It is very important. So that's kind of those steps, and then schedule the session, and then we did the session. And now we're actually going to go to an interview with Amy, who is our Photoshop goddess here, to talk about workflow and how we're able to literally, in a matter of less than an hour, take those images that we photographed and turn them into something that's viewable for that client so they could see it the next morning while they're still here. Take it away, Amy.
Well, everyone, I want to introduce you to Amy. You've heard us talk about her on some of the other episodes, and she's our Photoshop goddess, as I've mentioned in past on speaking platforms as well as on the show. I really don't know Photoshop. I don't really care to know Photoshop because I'm a tweaker, and I will continue to tweak to my heart's content if I knew how to use Photoshop. So I have other people doing that for me, and this is the other people that does it. So, today's show, we're kind of talking about workflow. It's not just the workflow from camera to final image on the wall. We're talking about the whole business workflow. But I mean, you are a big part of that because you're able to turn images around very quickly for us. And in the case of this client that we've been talking about, able to turn them within a couple, maybe an hour, and we're able to show those images to them before they took off or took back to Texas. So so what's your philosophy? How do you do it?
Well, Lightroom is my key element. From the camera, when we import, everything comes in directly through Lightroom. From there, we're doing minor tweaks. That's Bruce's word, tweak. We're doing minor adjustments. We might boost blacks. We might boost contrast a little bit. And boost the color, but for the most part, that's all we're doing because 90% of your workflow is going to be what you get in camera. If you can't show your client the back of your camera at some point during your session because you might be embarrassed about how your exposure may be working out for you,
Yeah.
it might be time to go back to square one. Your camera is the most important tool in your business, so it's important that you know how to use it.
So I must have a good camera.
Yeah, you know, you do. You have a great camera. You taught it everything it knows.
So I think she's giving me a compliment here.
Yes.
Are you? Okay.
Yes.
What-
So,
I mean, you have a lot of other photographer friends prior to working here, and
Yes.
what was their workflow, or how do they do it?
well, weddings specifically, here at the studio, we can turn a wedding around in about 3 hours. Where a lot of friends of mine who also shoot weddings will, they'll spend weeks.
Really?
Tweaking and fixing exposure. They might find one photo that might be their money shot.
Yeah.
And they will show it in 3 or 4 different platforms. You know, one might be black and white, one might be sepia. There might be some sort of fancy recipe that they put on their images that would, that they feel would make them stand out a little more.
But you've used the term pre-touch, is that a
Yeah,
term?
so pre-touch, exactly. We are just boosting blacks, boosting the contrast, boosting saturation. Portraits will get a vignette, and then they're exported to the appropriate size for our viewing software. And that's really it.
So what you're saying is a lot of your friends that you've known, they're spending really like 2 weeks. Like, are they doing any retouching on
They're
these?
they're doing heavy retouch.
Before the
they've-
client even sees it,
yes.
or buys it. I mean, that's one of our philosophies. We're gonna, spend all that time and energy on the things that they're investing in.
Right.
Right. In fact, you're working on the order already from what we sold on
Yes.
Saturday.
Yes.
And that's awesome. So we're able to kind of turn things very quickly. So I guess kind of what you're saying is the old philosophy of just get it in the camera.
Absolutely. Get it in the camera. Be as efficient as possible, even if it means writing down your system. Analyze it. What can you take out? What do you not need to do? Get it right in camera.
Well, I guess coming from the old school of, shooting with film, and every time you click that shutter, it's $2.50. Being old school kind of pays off because in this profession, time is money, and it's just, I rather spend my time, doing the photography and selling the photography. I mean, that's where we make the money, is doing that and letting somebody else like an Amy do all the other stuff. But if I can give Amy as much information with that image, correct information, correct exposure, white balance, all that kind of stuff, it's going to save her a lot of time. It's going to save me a lot of money. Sorry, Amy.
Exactly. I love you, but I don't want to sit in front of a computer screen for 5 or 6 hours. I want to come in, I want to spend my 2 hours, and I want to go home to my family.
All right. Well, great. Well, thanks for taking the time and
You're welcome.
setting us straight.
I just love Amy. We love Amy here a lot at the studio. Awesome Amy, as we like to call her. Time is money in this business, people, okay? If you're spending hours and hours and hours photoshopping, tweaking behind your laptop till 3, 4 in the morning, you better darn well be charging for it. And most of you aren't. So take some of Amy's tips. She's pretty amazing what she does. Now, kind of the next step in this whole, destination client coming to us or out of town client is doing the actual sale in person, not throwing it online, not sending them a proof disc, but actually doing the sale here while they're still in town. That's why it's so important that Amy gets these things done for us, which, with my dad, the way he shoots, all that stuff she talked about. So why don't you tell us a little bit about the projection sale and sort of how all that went?
Well, first of all, in the phone consultation, we made sure that they knew they were going to see him here, and I wanted to make sure that they were going to be here. They came in, I think, on Wednesday, and they were going to leave the following Wednesday. So we made it the session on Friday, And I said, we can actually see these Saturday morning. So they knew that was the way they were going to see them. I kind of talked them through the projection appointment, saying that you're going to see these to music, and then you're going to see them side by side, kind of like going to an eye doctor, and then I'll be able to show you various sizes, and that's how you'll order. So just letting people know up front is so important, that this is the way that you're going to do it. So they came in Saturday. I had them all prepared. I did take quite a few of them, and one thing that I really stress when I'm doing projection sales is that you edit very, how do I say it? Don't show them too many images, okay? You start showing too many images, people get confused, they get frustrated, and then it's going to be, well, can't you just put these online so I can order later, I can make decisions later? No, don't. We don't want that. And it's really, it's not a sales tactic. It's just that clients can't really visualize what these images look like if they're online. So it's kind of detrimental to, that's a word, right?
Yeah, detrimental, yeah.
To the client. So yeah, showed it to music, and then we do side-by-side comparison. We narrowed down to their probably favorite 12 or so. And then it's where do you feel you get the most enjoyment from this portrait? I mean, that's a something I learned a long time ago from one of my mentors, Chuck Lewis. And so get them thinking about where they might want to have it, and that's actually something that I ask way before I ever take the photograph in the consultation. So we were able to figure out, okay, are they going to want to invest in the shot of the three of them, Grandma and Grandpa and the little girl, or just the little girl? And I didn't tell you this, but I thought they wanted to invest in the three of them, and I walked out of the room to get their file. I came back, they go, no, we want the larger print to be of just her. So, and then they ended up getting two of those prints, one for them and one for their son and daughter-in-law, which I thought was cool. So, the cool thing about this whole process is it worked like clockwork. It just, every step we covered, because we covered our bases, and we talked to them and educated them through the whole process. And I think that's really, really important.
Well, and that's, you and I were talking at lunch today about that. It's just the importance of setting that expectation for the client. Don't be afraid to talk price. Don't be afraid to talk specifics. I mean, when clients come in for our consultation, my dad does a lot of the education about wall portraiture, shows examples, scratch and sniff. Had a comment in our blog from our last episode, somebody saying, trying to create value for myself, all my clients want is a disc, and they just want to print their own canvases at Walmart. I said, go to Walmart and get a print, a 16 by 20 or something of that inkjet crap that they have, and go to H&H Color Lab and print another one with their beautiful photographic pearl paper, the wrap canvas one. Show them side by side. We do. Once you show people side by side, there's no comparison.
Right.
And put those things outside for a day, and you will see fading in this stupid inkjet one, well, you won't in this. And
we used to do that with before your time here. We used to do that with Olin Mills prints, showing their 11 by 14 canvas, versus ours. There's no comparison. So so much of what we're talking about is education. It's not like a sales strategy kind of thing. We want the best for our clients, and I think that education along the whole process is very important.
Yeah. Well, all right, everyone, we have come to the Ask a Hudson segment, or Ask the Hudsons, because there's two of us. I always feel like I'm up here. So, instead of just choosing one person's question, we've gotten like a gazillion of the same type of question. And basically it's, how are you guys consistently selling wall portraiture in this sort of culture where everybody's just giving everything away on a disc? And I feel like it's a good question to answer on this show, because this out-of-town client who we did, if we hadn't have projected with this person, I guarantee you they would not have spent what they spent. And it was a multiple wall portrait sale from somebody who was only in town for a week. And because we projected, my dad was able to sell 2 wall portraits, a bunch of smaller stuff. It was a nice 4-figure sale on a Saturday morning before one of his sold-out photo classes here. And like you said, it works like clockwork. So, sort of the question, I guess it's a group question today, is how are you consistently selling wall portraiture at your studio? And I'm going to throw it to the big guy here.
Big guy. Oh, thanks. Number one, you have to show what you want to sell. and once again, I learned this from mentor Chuck Lewis and also Ken Whitmire in Yakima, Washington. Meaning when people come into the studio, that's what they're seeing. They're seeing 30, 40, 50, 60-inch portraits on the wall. That's what we want to sell. That's what we show. On the website, we have a certain section where it's a little slideshow showing clients' portraits in their homes, or on our video, testimonial video. It's our clients standing in front of their beautiful portraits saying how great we are. But it's showing people that yes, people actually invest in these portraits and they're happy doing that. So that's number one. Number two would be you have to believe in it. Truly, you go into my home or Josh's home and you can see these beautiful portraits. I mean, Josh grew up seeing these beautiful portraits in our home, and it's kind of fun with both my kids to see that, that's still very, very important to them. So you got to believe in it. Number three is you go over it in the consultation. A lot of education. Yeah, I'm going to start out with kind of a cool slideshow to get them excited about all the possibilities that we can do. But then I go into a real educational side of things where I'm going to show them examples of large portraits and why these look better larger. We talk about head size, all that kind of stuff. So the consultation. And then number four would be selling with projection. We're going to show them all their images, first to music, like I mentioned, and then side by side, and then show them what they look like versus, in the old days of proof, or nowadays, on a screen. It's just, that formula really, really works every time, and that's how we're able to sell a lot of large portraits.
Yep. And for those of you who have a question, go to mystudiomentor.com, click on Ask the Hudsons, submit your question, and if we read it on the air, we'll send you a free t-shirt.
All right, this I remembered, this is my favorite part.
This is his favorite one.
I like to connect the dots.
Yeah.
And things. So for today's takeaway, what would you say is number one?
Number one is you need policies and procedures in your business. I don't care if you're one person or you have 10 employees. You need a system, okay? You can't just fly by the seat of your pants every time a client emails you. You have to know exactly what step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, okay? Especially when it comes to the sales process. And that's why we're able to have the type of sales that we have on a consistent basis, because we do things consistently. That's by far the biggest takeaway from this, I think, today for me.
Yeah, and along those lines, I think in the coming weeks we'll probably share some horror stories where we didn't use the system that we shared with you today, and it was actually his fault.
Big time.
And he'll admit that.
I'll admit it. It's a great story. You're gonna love it.
So yeah, having a great website, great SEO, having build rapport on the telephone with this out-of-town client, booking the session, having them pay for that, having fun during the session, and then scheduling the time for them to see him before they went home. I mean, that is a great system, and it's been working for over 30 years now. All right, so that's it for another episode, episode 6. We are having a ball doing this, and thank you so much for all your comments. Coming up next week, I want to share with you a dream assignment from Tuscany that I did this summer, photographing a Tuscan villa and having a little bit of wine.
Yes, just a little bit, I think, after being there a week.
That week.
So for all of you out there watching this, we want to hear what you think about any of the segments on the show today, what we covered. So go to mystudiomentor.com, click on Web TV episodes, look for episode 5, and post your comments below. I will get back to you. From Bruce and Josh Hudson here, live south of Seattle in, Tukwila, close to Renton, home of the Seattle Seahawks, world champions. This is Photo Entrepreneur TV, the place where serious photographic entrepreneurs learn to profit from their passion.